August 18th of 2009, he had a car accident. It severed his spinal cord at T4. He also suffered a traumatic brain injury, sheared his brain stem, and he was unresponsive for a month and a half and in a coma for about 11 days.
Chris came to Cardinal Hill's Traumatic Brain Injury Unit.
When we got to Cardinal Hill, he had a really delayed time of reacting. You could ask him to hold a finger up and, maybe take 60 seconds for him to react. Physically, he wasn't able to do any kind of movements himself in bed. He couldn't be stood up without his blood pressure dropping.
I just think the whole staff at Cardinal Hill were fabulous. The therapists, the nurses, the psychologist, the case manager, she was great. She knew we were not going to leave that hospital. She knew we were going to sleep out in the car if we weren't found somewhere to stay. And she found us an apartment that was just right down the road.
The first thing we worked on was probably standing, trying to get his blood pressure. They would strap him to the table and they would, slowly raise him up. As soon as he was able to sit up straight in his chair, Sam started working with him on grooming, brushing his teeth, combing his hair, anything to do with coordination with the hands.
Chris also had medical issues which Cardinal Hill addressed.
And with Chris and his spinal cord injury, the bowel and bladder program became very important. He came in with a wound that was healed before he left. He was on tube feeding when he first came to us, and then when he was able to swallow and eat functionally, his appetite was an issue.
I had never heard of bowel and bladder training before. Even being a nurse for several years, I hadn't heard of that because I've never dealt with paraplegics or quadriplegics. So that was one of the first things. Another thing that I really liked is they wanted to take back some of his medicines, cut them back. So that was important. I felt like some of the medication was affecting his abilities.
The Cardinal Hill therapist involved the parents in therapy and prepared them to care for Chris at home.
They walked us through every piece of equipment we were going to need, what was going to be most beneficial to Chris, how the shower should be set up, how his bedroom should be set up.
Chris stayed home for a month to heal, rest, and build up strength. Then he returned to Cardinal Hill, this time to the spinal cord unit.
He was still struggling with the muscle activity that he actually had versus what he used to have. And as well, he was dealing with some of the issues of memory because of his brain injury. I really tried to emphasize with him trying to get as strong as he could with the muscles that he had left, because with Chris and his situation, he's still a very young, very active person. And in order to optimize what he had, I was like, look, we've got to get as strong as we can get with what you've got. And that's going to make not only your function better, but it's going to make the activities that you can do much more enjoyable.
Therapists would make sure that Chris learned how to exercise properly.
Like, they were more like friends than they were like therapists. They made it like fun instead of just being all strict and stuff.
Chris still enjoys an active lifestyle.
I went skiing and it was just a rush. Like I love it. I love anything that gives you a rush, And I played ice hockey, and I love being competitive. And I was surfing, and it was just a blast.
He would not have progressed without Cardinal Hill's help.